Welcome to WAVE 101 Lesson 8. Today Denise is going to talk about deceitful desires. And we're going to go over step 2 in devotional Bible study, finding the lessons. Here's Denise.
We discussed in chapter 1 how God wants us to surface our desire for Him. But He also goes on to warn us that there are certain influences that are around that try to suppress that desire for Him. So let me share with you Ephesians 4:22-23, for here is where God gives us the first desire killer. And He says, "You were taught with regard to your former way of life to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, and to be made new in the attitude of your minds." Corrupted by deceitful desires. That's pretty strong language, that we're being corrupted. So what on earth are deceitful desires? So look at number 1, deceit. What does deceit mean? To lie, right? So how could a desire lie to you? A deceitful desire. You know, let's think about this. A desire is something you tell yourself, oh, if I could just do this, then I would feel better. This would answer some problem. This would help me. You know, so number 2, a deceitful desire, you know, it's promising fulfillment. But what is the lie part? But it does not deliver. So a deceitful desire, it's promising fulfillment, but it does not deliver. So what are some possible deceitful desires? So could it be things like shopping? It could be a deceitful desire, or eating extra. How about the promise of travel, you know, and leisure, and TV, and you know, gambling or pornography or having an affair or drugs or alcohol, or how about extra reading of romance novels, or, you know, work. I'm going to bury myself in work. A lot of these kind of things can be. Now, some of the that I've listed to you, you know, are always a deceitful desire, but some of those aren't always a deceitful desire. But they can be. Let me share with you my deceitful desire of choice when I'm feeling somewhat empty or restless, bored, you know, then I tell myself, oh, if I could just go shopping, you know, then I'll feel better. You know, because I will go and I'll find a cute outfit. And it'll be at a good price. I won't torch the budget, you know, and then I'll have some success. You know, I will be a good shopper with good taste. And I will have succeeded at something, and I will feel better. And you know, I do. I feel better for a little while. But it's sort of like, you know, a deceitful desire is sort of like a quick fix. It's like emotional anesthesia, you know? So you do feel a little bit better. It numbs your pain for a while. But what is the problem with anesthesia? It wears off, right? And so then you need it again. You know, so for me, I know that this is a deceitful desire because at the end of my life, you know, I'm not going to look over my life and say, my life had meaning because I had a lot of cute outfits. It won't matter. It won't matter to me at all. So if I keep managing my life this way, trying to use shopping to give me comfort, I'm going to spend, and thinking that's giving me fulfillment, I'm going to misspend my life and be deceived. It will have lied to me. So, number 3, if we keep fulfilling deceitful desires, we never develop the path to God for comfort, right? Because I'm too busy going to the store for comfort. You can be too busy going to the TV to find comfort, to the refrigerator, to pornography. And so we never develop the path to God. These are deceitful desires. We need to find our true desire. We'll talk more about that as we go along. God's blessing on you.
The first step in devotional Bible study is learning to see the facts. The second step is learning to surface the lessons, or what can be learned out of the passage you're looking at. The first step is the most important. The second step is the trickiest and needs the most practice for you to feel comfortable with it. Take a look if you're following along in the book, take a look at page 49. Also, if you have the electronic lesson, there's also a fill in the blank there. We're going to give you tips about the second step. This is the first of the tips. Throughout the lessons, we're going to give you more tips because of the trickiness of this step. To surface a lesson, it's often the most helpful to identify what in the passage is the most unusual to you. That's a fill in the blank. Then figure out how to express what's most unusual to you. Write it down. And then see if you can learn something from that unusual item you've surfaced. When you look at a passage and something stands out as unusual, that's often the spot where you can find a lesson, something you can learn from the passage. Let's give you some practice with that, with our passage today. We're looking at Genesis chapter 12, verse 1, from the New American Standard Bible. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go forth from your country, and from your relatives, and from your father's house, to the land which I will show you." Okay, in step one, for a verse like this, you would go through the phrases and surface things like, God is talking to Abram. That's the name of Abraham before his name was changed to Abraham. God was talking to Abram. God told Abram to go. He had to leave his family and all that was familiar. Another fact you could see is, even though God told him to go, He did not tell him where to go. To the land which I will show you. So, when I look at this passage, there are a few things you can form into principles, things you learn from this passage. One of them, if the go part seems most unusual to you or strikes you, you could formulate that into something to be learned by saying, sometimes God asks us to leave our comfort zone. There's a lesson. Sometimes God asks us to leave our comfort zone. What strikes me as unusual in this passage is the last part, that God is asking Abram to go somewhere, but He's not telling him where. He will tell him when it's time, but it's not time yet. He has to take action before he knows where he's going, before he knows all of the necessary facts. Think about how you would form that into a lesson, into a principle, something you could learn from this passage. God is asking him to go without telling him all the facts. If you turn that around, you can say, sometimes God asks us to take action without having all the necessary information. Okay, you see? He was asking him to do that in this case. That's a principle. That's something we can learn from this passage. From this passage, we can say, sometimes God asks us to do things without giving us all the necessary information, and we have to take action before knowing that information. That's a lesson. Next time, Denise is going to talk about when a desire becomes a deceitful desire. And we're going to go over step 3 in devotional Bible study, surfacing the challenges. Until then, Lord bless you.